Hello, Gemini. Welcome back. We are here to do your August 2020 forecast. Now, this is a very unique reading in a sense that I'm going to be covering the astrology, but putting it in layman's terms so you can understand it, as well as any psychic frequencies I get per placement, as well as your chakra system. So, to be able to actually balance any ailments that potentially can come up or in areas. Now, with this forecast, it will be the general. It will be for those of you that are coupled, those of you that are single, and also those of you that have left one chapter of your life and are moving to the other. We're also covering career, health, and anything else that potentially can come up. Now, this month we do have Uranus going retrograde on the 15th. We will have things playing out coming into the beginning of the month. Now, on the first day of the month, there are two major aspects hitting two various areas of your life. One is of your self-esteem and shared resources. Very Pluto in nature. There can be complications linking to these things, and there can be frustrations. So for you, for the beginning of the month, yes, it can be bouncing off. Plus, because you have the nodes in your first house, over the next 2.5 years, the way you see yourself, the way people see you is being transformed. It's like turning over that new leaf. Also, your connections are directly changing. So very relevant at this point in time with many planets at the moment retrograde. You will have the ability to, in your social circle and your communication, benefit from certain things on the first. But really, when it does come to your self-esteem, don't be too ashamed to actually speak your truth. Try to be cautious with ego because we will have such heavy Leo aspects. But at the same time, really going through those fine details, getting things overlooked, reading your fine print, reading your legacies and your wills, documentation. There can be themes to that degree. Also, frustration linking into who those connections are, where finances are coming from, and what contracts you can directly depend on. So anything at that nature that you're working on, networking and fine-tune, it could become complicated on the first, but try and have patience with it. Now, on the second, this will be huge themes relating to Uranus and Taurus retrograde. So pay attention to these areas, especially in aspects that are being made to the planet. Relating to the spiritual aspect, it's to take you to a higher place of transformation. It also can come quite suddenly, but at the same time, I have found with my clientele, many have been actually having synchronistic events happen towards the end of July, and it will continue as we move towards the 15th. It's not a transit is occurring on that day. That's what's going to be happening. It can already be playing out, and it's all about transformations. If we're in alignment, things will flow. We can get benefits coming to us. If maybe we miss some things, it's a bit like, going back and doing retests and having that transformation. It can be icky in the newest state of the retrograde, but it's the quality system, the epiphany moments, and the movement forward for that. So some things can take us by direct surprise, especially with Uranus retrograde. Now, we'll be squaring the sun in Leo on the 2nd. Now, for you, this is both linked to travel and also your 12th house. So I would highly recommend caution around your routine that day, paying attention to the road, taking time out to actually meditate, and keeping your fluid up. Also wearing blue because it's connected to throat chakra. So if there are any issues, and, this can be linking with siblings, it can be differing of views with Aries and Chiron and Leo. The reason I say that is because where we're at doesn't mean everyone else is at that, position in life at a spiritual nature. So some can relate to ego and third eye. It also can be headaches, the need to, have eyesight checks and things to that degree. With the communication, if you feel that it's not flowing effectively or people are misinterpreting things, it's really important to check your emails, make sure. It's a bit like a Mercury retrograde, but it's crosswise with fiery energy, as well as the need to integrate those two areas. Now, on the 3rd, we're having the full moon in Aquarius. It's going to be at 11 degrees. And for you, this does link to foreign travels, your spirituality, your belief systems, you know, for people that are wanting to move a connection to the next level or cycle a connection out. These themes can be coming up because it is a full moon. At a psychological, spiritual level, sitting with the energy, maybe journaling and actually writing it down and discarding it, you know, making peace with it. But sitting with the energy 2 days either side can help. Also, I'm really feeling large themes coming up to do with 2021. And the reason I say that is because Saturn and Jupiter will both be in the house of Aquarius. So for you at a collective level, you may be looking at something happening at a larger level. It can be coming up either side of these days, themes on the news, how you directly relate to it, including in your own personal life, which happens to be the 9th house. At a collective level, it will be to do with socialization, hopes and dreams. There can be major themes that what is happening on the 3D, many are looking at the old way we were doing things prior to 2020. And now where we stand in that, you know, that transit with the Lionsgate portal moving forward, where are we going from here? Almost not holding too fixated onto a rigid belief, but knowing that new dreams can be recreated. But at a global level, there can be a lot of changes happening. On the 4th, we missed one. Okay, on the 3rd also, we're going to have Mercury in Cancer conjunct Saturn in Capricorn. Now, this again is to do with paperwork. I would say paperwork, I would say your self-esteem, maybe fear-based frequency, something coming up that can actually trigger you. Again, from what is going on in the collective, it could potentially be such. There also can be health that you're looking at, health plans and things to that degree. But with the energy of your resources, what you have at your disposition, although something can come up, sometimes we can actually use our previous experience to implement it in the here and now. I'm also feeling as though there could potentially be plumbing and things to that degree that need looking at, and that's more on the home front. But when it comes to money and tying up loose ends, if there's anything that you need to deal with, and you are feeling really challenged by it, try and have faith in that process. Do some breathing exercises, detach and sit back for a moment, and then come back to it. And with that clear mind, you will find creative solutions. But there can be something unexpected coming up on that day. Now, on the 4th, we're having Venus and Gemini conjunct the nodes. Now, it is your first house placement. So uniquely, some of the things that you like doing in a sense of a social endeavor, your communication may be changing. And because we do have, again, as I mentioned, heavy Leo energy this month, we do need to be quite mindful of speaking from the heart over the ego. That you can feel very optimistic and really moving forward and feeling yourself. Regardless of how you're feeling, it can be cycling through because we are going to have the energy of that frequency transferring. So anything that comes up can be huge light bulb moments of what you want to change, how you see yourself, where you want to go. Really trust in that process and journal, because if you do, you will find it will really aid you over the next 2.5 years with the nodal axis in your first house. Now, on the 5th, we're having Mercury entering Leo. So in a sense, like I was saying, moving through both sides, there can be ego, but you're going to have more energy moving forward. You can be really busy. And I really do highly suggest with Mercury and Leo, caution on the road. You know, if you are traveling, Mercury is more, your routine. You may be powering through your routine, but really needing to pay attention, because if we're very fast energetically, we can miss things. So if you're finding you're getting a lot done, slow down, take 5 to slow the mind down. You may observe something, and especially on the road, it's really being mindful on the road, especially at a very local level. Okay, now on the 10th, again, there can be common themes moving towards the 15th of Uranus going retrograde. Mercury in Leo is going to be squaring Uranus and Taurus. Now, with this, it does link to your communication and your psychology. So again, what we're saying and what we're thinking can be coming up. Something in a sense that you've buried deep down inside you may come up at a psychological level. Looking at things of what you value may be changing. And also for some of you, I really do feel for some reason there could be home relocation. So if that's coming up and looking at it and being a little bit concerned, could even be home related in a sense of, transportation. If you're suddenly wanting a new car, money can be coming in. But again, trust your intuition with this, but there can be complications on this day. For the next 2 days, I really do feel there can be a lot of yin-yang polarities coming up, and that can be to do with the energy of where you're going and that of your shadow. Also, the romantic aspect of things, because we're having the sun we're having Venus in Cancer squaring Chiron. Caution with the yin yang of energy. We're able to deal with it more effectively, but there can be some challenges coming up on the 16th, very much linking them with old karmic cycles. And if these things do come up, they're just there to be ticked and move forward. But again, home related themes can be coming up for you, Gemini. Now, towards the end of the month, we are going to be having the new moon in Leo on the 19th, and it is at the critical degree point. So this can be something that happens very quickly and a new energy comes in. And with it being in Leo for you, it is, again, to do with a car. Somebody may, you may inherit a car. You may be given a car. It can also be suddenly needing to travel at a drop of a hat. Or again, having communication and conversations with a faraway place. But whatever this is, in a sense of communication, especially if it's in your industry and you're working in that, it can be sudden news that comes in that's really beneficial. But it's going to be interesting how it plays out for all of us individually. When it does relate to health over the next few days after, anything linking in with analytics, communication, fine-tuning, I'm really feeling like we're going to be really fine-tuning that aspect of things. Now, this does fall in your luck house. So, again, I do feel a lot of great aspects happening for you at the end of the month. So when you're looking at growth in your business, growth in your life, can even be your health and diets and things to that degree, large themes can come up, but there can be benefits that come in a sense of dividends. At the same time, with your home-related dynamics and your psychology and money, there can be things coming in very much at the last minute, and what you thought wasn't so great is going to benefit you in the long run. Now, the hardest point is really between the 19th, due to the fact that we're having Pluto making an aspect. So complications with our hopes and dreams, maybe viewpoints, maybe our psychology can be coming up. But to be patient at the end of the month and try and work through it. Now, let's look at your love for couples. I do feel many of you are going to be looking at relationships quite differently. Now I'm going to look at your chart and I'm going to start interpreting the psychic energy coming through. Let me have a look. Now, luck more towards now in October can be a major energy. Anything that you're wanting to recreate, you're potentially working on. When it does come to, if you are wanting children, between now and October, some of you may be expecting around October, but there is an energy of a potential of birth energy there. The other frequency coming through is your health. It's really important at the moment to be looking at your health domain between now and September. If you do need to have checkups, it would be really healthy too. But again, I am feeling psychology connected to it, nervous energy, something you're feeling suspicious of. Those things within the connection, if you can keep the communication open, will really benefit you. Now, the big thing happening is your relationship sector is changing. All of your contracts, your relationships, even connections with siblings can be changing at this point. Now, what I have found with that kind of axis in connections with the 1st and the 7th house is initially you can feel very isolated. You can feel at times that in the connections, people don't understand you, but it does resolve and it does develop you. So you will find that the connection does become deeply spiritual. Some of you will be wanting to take that next phase on in your connection. And I am feeling between now and September, there can be mass movement in that area. I do feel you really do need to, how do I place it? The psychology surrounding your viewpoint of things. There might have been an imbalance initially in a sense of give and take, especially with the 8th house placement. If suddenly you become the main breadwinner, there can be a lot of self-esteem that ends up building in this department. But there is a huge development energy coming through in your connection where you're choosing marriages, contracts, and partnerships from a very healthy perspective. It can be a little bit jittery moving into it, but I'm feeling that it will really balance out. I'm also sensing, in a way, stress levels and connections is due to a lot of energy at the beginning of the month coming through, and potentially from what we've experienced during the year. You do need to pay attention to, again, actually speaking about situations. You know, if something went wrong in the connection, if you're trying to tie up these loose ends between now, September and October, it's really cleaning it up. But with Uranus going retrograde, you know, if there are cracks in a situation, it's going to start showing the energy. But during the month, moving through, really smoothing those things out and communicating about it will really assist. If we don't and we actually are in a connection and we're really not directly happy, especially for you, Gemini, be it on your side or their side, you know, following your gut, if you feel something has been unsaid, it may be quite necessary this month to actually have those conversations. Because if it's really nagging at your mind, I do feel this can be to do with the things that you like. And I'm seeing stark polarities coming through in the readings where you may have one view of a dream and what you thought life could be. But I do see you being very focused on your finances at the moment and really thinking over, you know, what is that best version for your life? I do see glory surrounding you. So part of your spiritual growth is linking to that. But I'm seeing value systems coming up at the beginning of the month. I also feel it's really important to communicate about some of your hopes and dreams. Some of these things are coming down to very focused on your career yet again. If you're finding that that is imbalanced, by developing that area, it's actually going to bring balance back within the connection. But I do feel both energies within this connection at the moment are going to be super busy. Now, if you are single, I do feel paperwork orientation and tying up those loose ends are crucial. So if there's anything relating to paperwork, documentation, shared assets, and it has been a most recent separation, again, between now and October, it can be very karmic, really tying those energies up. When Mars goes retrograde, it can cause a lot of fatigue and frustration. And we will be experiencing that this month. So, you know, as I mentioned before, caution with words, caution with communication. I do feel a lot of people are going to be super attracted to you this month, but you may be paying attention to other areas of your life and be none the wiser. I'm also feeling this need to break free. You know, wanting to be more social, but a lot of you are assessing what those social energies were that occurred in previous connections versus what you directly like right now. I also feel there is an attraction to go-getter energies, people that really have their life together, but that's your energy too. So integrating that inside you can directly, like the laws of attraction, bring that connection back to you. I'm also feeling it is going to come quite unexpected, but I do feel it's almost like, you know, for those of you that aren't thinking of a person from the past, whoever this energy is coming in, it does feel very charismatic, very maybe more quiet in a sense of communication, not having that ability to do such like you do, but to the point where you can read their energy. You do find them mysterious, but it's very motivational because I see their energy being very vivacious, almost supercharged and fun. That's how it's coming through. Now, as for communication, for those of you, if you are wishing to have communication from a loved person that you're in love with, or a soul connection, there can be a lot of psychic energy coming up at the moment. But I do feel, let me have a look. Let me look at the chart here. I do feel most of the heavy conversational pieces and potential communication will be mid-month to the new moon in Leo. It is opening up communication. There is a lot of communication energy through the month. If you are communicating with each other, and this does come in, we really do need to be very open and transparent, regardless of what we're wanting the outcome to be. Because with the 8th house placement, really talking over situations of the past, working through the differences, what your needs are, what their needs are, and trying to bridge that gap. I do feel if you're working, it will really benefit you though. And I'm sort of feeling that energy is going to come through while you're at work or when you're busy doing something. It sort of feels like it's coming through. Now, as for your health, really have a look at, like I mentioned, between now and moving forward till October, those things that you've outgrown. Suddenly you may find that you're really going off certain food groups. Some of you are researching health benefits of certain things. And again, with growth, there is a change. Again, I just keep feeling change in diet. So a change in diet, change in the way you're seeing things. If you have had an issue in the energy of getting out and about, being quite homebound, by the end of the month, large themes can come up to do with home. So try and get out and about as much as you can at the beginning of the month, and you will find themes can come up more so towards the end of the month linking to home. Now, base chakra I'm seeing as an essential. I'm also seeing your connection to your 5th house of luck. It is belief systems, but it's also linking in with between anything you're working on between now and October, getting the hard energy work done now. The reason I say that is because once Mars goes retrograde, your energy of health, if you've been working on your health and you've been changing your diet, it might have started around May. Working through over the next 2.5 years, there is a lot of development there of transformation in that frequency. So even linking in with your connections, there may have been a go, go, go energy. Now there seems to be a lot of an energy that is looking at, okay, why am I doing these things? A lot of tapping into spirituality, a lot of tapping into meditation. Something inside you is transforming, but it is going to, like the laws of attraction, actually attract those energies towards you. I'd really highly advise this month with the crown chakra activation and with your heart chakra to balance both energies. So with the crown chakra, drinking fluid that can clear it, taking time to meditate with the 12th house. And you do have certain dates that you need to be mindful of with the 12th house, which will be from the beginning of the month through to the 5th, and definitely between the 7th and the 16th. And they're really the key times for the crown chakra clearing and taking time to actually meditate. Now, with your throat chakra, if you do feel you're not communicating, I feel you may initially feel you are communicating, but really check into whether you can't change what the person's going to say, but just knowing and making peace with the fact that if you're speaking from a place of truth and heart, it will smooth situations out. Now, solar plexus and sacral chakra, with so many planets retrograde at the moment, so when it comes to your fair-based frequency and you getting things done, paying attention to that more towards the end of the month, and definitely with your third eye. Now, I do feel a lot of communication coming in. When it comes to your career and money, the big energies that are coming in is really the reassessment of things, the healthy boundaries with people. Major aspects are going to go into your connections. So you may have a lot going out into these connections and social endeavors. But also there might be regret linking into some things you were doing. So if you are having regret linking into your career and you're changing it, it's merely a wound. It doesn't mean to say it can't be rectified. If you are finding it challenging in your socialization and things to that degree, it is because the 11th house for you is Aries. So when you're busy in your networking, even if you had a falling out with someone on the workplace or in career with that management, looking at that and developing it, it will transform. Between now and, how long does Mars go retrograde for? November 14th. You may find you feel very tired. So if there's any heavy energy you need to do in a sense of thinking, dealing with heavy tasks, physical related energy, get it done as soon as possible. Although we do have that energy there in your 11th house, by the time we do move into Mars retrograde on September the 9th, you will feel more fatigued. You won't feel as energetically inclined. So balancing that frequency using red gemstones can actually balance it. But overall, try and get the heavy energy done now. Now, as for your expenses, again, it can be on growing your connections and bridging them, and the 11th house is triggering it. So if there is a trigger in your finances and there's money going out, money coming in, and the give and take isn't there, really transforming that and doing a budget, I hear. Now, for those of you that are unemployed, I am seeing opportunities coming from your first house placement. So many of you, even with those of you that are working and aren't working, it is a unique matching and frequency. Your ability to communicate is very large, but I do feel a lot of you are working at a very local level. So this can be home-based businesses. It can be more that you're having to do quite a bit running about, coming and going, keeping your routine very organized. I'm also seeing technology can really benefit you. So any upskilling, there can be upgrades of vehicles at this point over the next 2.5 years, especially since it's your natal Gemini and it is the first house placement. Fine-tuning your daily routine. Fine-tuning and upgrading in education is massive. Anything you used to do before will deeply transform. Reading your policies and things to that degree. Also looking at your belief systems and moving beyond that point. So if you feel ill-equipped, really moving to it and just taking one step at a time is going to benefit you. But I do feel around October, there can be very large transformations happening. Now, if you are developing a home-based business, this is a perfect time towards the end of the month to launch because we have Virgo in the 4th house and you will be able to bring things together. If you've already developed that, again, in career and business, if you are working from home, working through it and trying to keep the balance is going to help. And by the end of the month, you will find things start flowing. Now, with Neptune on the 30th, something major can come up that you're needing to look at on the 30th, especially at a home-based business level. You will see a reality of things as you proceed through the month, but you do need to trust the process. If there needs to be a change in some sense, it's almost like a blessing in disguise. So looking at it, integrating and, growing from it. Sometimes it's almost quality systems coming up. And I really see that with the Virgo energy being there. Now, I'm going to pull a rune for you, and I hope this has helped. I will do the romance reads with the psychic energy alone and the cards later during the months. Where are they? Here they are. Let's see what's coming up for you. Anything else I'm picking? Ooh. I'm usually a tad bit more organised, but I'm telling you, technology has not been working. Well, it has been, but then it hasn't been. Most of your deep connections over the next 2.5 years are really going to transform. But the funny thing is, when I had the 1st and the 7th house placement, sometimes we accidentally believe people need us to be certain things. Other times we get to a stage where we outgrow that regardless. Whatever comes through for you, really do understand healthy boundaries, but the healthy boundaries is with self. So if you feel somebody is expecting, really have that communication there and say, hey, this makes me feel some sort of way. This is what's coming up. Is this how you feel? By doing that, you're actually growing. You're growing spiritually. You're understanding where you're coming from and just speaking your truth. You know, with that transit, sometimes you can actually place yourself isolated. And you're a very social energy. But you may be looking at the energy of things at the moment from a psychological perspective and transforming that. You've outgrown some ways of being. And so that can be the frightening part when we are going through that. But it's almost like you're getting to know yourself all over again because you're not that old energy anymore. And it can cause confusions. So just being mindful of that as you move through the next 2.5 years, that when you hit a stumbling block, you can actually say to yourself, it's okay, Gemini, this is but a moment. You're transforming, you're getting to know yourself, and just being really gentle with that process and not cross at yourself if you do, be it at work, be it in your connections and your family, as well as in your deeper relationships, that if you are triggered and you do get a bit sharp, it's not to have that forgiveness as long as you're checking yourself and you're moving ahead. Now, we do have this frequency coming through. It does connect to Thor, Gaia Source, Eagle, viewing above, Thursday, fire and air. Let's see what it means. The Chariot, movement. Second house placement of self-esteem, okay? Because you've got Cancer in that placement, it links to that. It's also the movement forward. Now, as I mentioned with the Cancer placements at the beginning of the video, which you can go back, we are having Venus in Cancer, so something major can come up around that date. Where is it? Let me check the chart. Venus in Cancer, the 7th. Interesting number. Abundance. Now, at a higher level, because remember, your relationship sector is changing. So your self-esteem and your belief systems, which is what I was saying, you know, when we're changing, it's like self-esteem is based on, okay, I'm triggered or not feeling so great. Then you move back into the energy of being that vibration of who the new you is, and you will relate from that vibration directly to your connections. So we can be both low and high frequency as the month progresses. It's perfectly normal. Now, in the mundane, it directly connects to change in direction. Your 7th house placement of connections is relationships, which is Jupiter energy. It's Sagittarius. And the nodes are there. It's the south nodes. There's transformations happening in that area. Movement, progression, journey, relocation, bad habits, rhythm. All of these subjects will come up. Now, the esoteric, cosmic order, ritual journey, vision quest, personal destination. I mentioned the 12th house placement. At a lower frequency when you get triggered. Crisis, rigidity, wrong action. Again, egoic. Action in the Leo energy is the reaction we're taking to a direct situation. So trying to be fluid during this month. With Uranus and Taurus retrograde, it is where we've been in a rut, or potentially at a spiritual level, it's not in our higher good. And so Uranus comes in, which is the father figure of Saturn, says, right, this is what I'm doing. I've stood back. I've observed this. Now this is what I believe is in order, because we do have Saturn and Pluto that work together. Pluto comes through and says, this is rotten. We've got to replace this plank. Saturn's like, I just want everything to stay neutral and beautiful, but you better level up. Uranus comes in, who is the father of Saturn, says, look, this is what has to happen. So the three of them are working together, and the Jupiter energy is the spirituality. It's the movement forward. It's the growth, but it's whoa, whoa, whoa. Let's look at all of these things. So there can be quite a bit going on. This saying stuck in a rut goes back in the day to the horse drawing travel. When a wagon wheel is stuck in a rut, we are unable to change direction. To do so takes great effort. And it's really true, because you know, a lot of us from an adult perspective, when we're doing the inner child wounds, it is breaking out of those old paradigms. So breaking old adult cycles is very hard, especially if you're in a connection, a contract, and we can see what's going on in the collective and it's transforming. It's frightening. Not being able to navigate that compass from that full moon in Aquarius on the 3rd and going, what is this world going to be? It is frightening, but it's also very much like eat, pray, love. We are starting to live the real life. We are having, you know, enjoying our food, taking that time, looking at the need for balance with Juno in Libra, and looking at what these new energies of who we are now due to what has transformed us and what these new rebuild energies will be for the wider group, the globe. So it's like Breaking Bad. Anything that's not meant to be there, there can be some adversity this month, but it's also to do with you having the ability to do these things through this transformation. Now, if you are wanting a psychic booking that I just directly channel the energy, these are your key dates and things you need to look at to balance. I will come to you during the month and give astrology updates for the collective, twin flame updates, romance reads, and I will see you soon. Love and light.